Hey, we did it.
Hey,
It's working. How are you?
great. Hi, Deshaun. I'm nice. I'm great. Super. Hey, everyone.
Uh,
Glad to be back. Right. For those of you who hasn't watched the previous episodes of our little series with Deshaun, I'm Cat Edelveis, or Cat. I'm a developer advocate at Bellsoft. And today, I would like to start our live stream with a little, well, actually, it's a very, very big announcement. So Bellsoft has released Alpaca Linux for Arch64 last week.
what?
Yay!
Oh boy.
That's
Stop
yay!
everybody. This is awesome.
This is
Uh,
absolutely fantastic,
yes, it
really.
is.
Yeah. So now you can build your containers with Liberica JDK and Alpaca Linux. You can build them on local machine, or you can build them for ARM servers, right? Because ARM servers are on the rise, and it's very important to have the dedicated builds of Linux. Right.
That's
So
fantastic. I'm using ARM64 right now, and I'm a big fan of Raspberry Pis. I'm traveling. Cat, I'm in
yeah,
Portland, and it's 5 a.m. Here in Portland. But I'm a big fan of Raspberry Pis. So I even brought ARM64 Raspberry Pis with me on this trip because I do some other interesting things. So this is fantastic news. Like, what a great way to start the show. Thank you.
yes,
It feels like
yeah.
a gift. I feel like I just, like you just like brought me a cupcake.
Oh yeah, that was my intent. And yeah, check out my cute T-shirt. Like small things can make a big difference. No paquete
Yeah.
is really small, and I love it because I'm also really really small. Yeah.
Mm. I'm gonna need
Right.
one of
So
those
that's why I
t-shirts.
love El
'Cause,
Paquito.
I'm gonna need
Yeah.
one of those t-shirts, and I'm gonna double X. I'm not a small guy. So double X American sizes, not the European size. Double X American sizes, like the big,
Okay.
big,
Okay.
big. So yeah.
Right. Okay. So I'll make sure that you get that T-shirt as soon as
Awesome.
possible. Right.
How have you been? I feel like it's been a long
Um.
time since we hang out. Are things good?
Yeah. Yeah. So we have seen. When was the previous live stream? Like 3 weeks ago, right? I guess. Yeah, 3 weeks.
Yeah, because
So
we've been busy.
I've been digging into Docker containers, into profiling with Docker containers, and so today the topic of our talk today is profilers. So last time we looked into using profilers with Docker containers built with build packs, right?
Yep.
And we looked at GFR and Async profiler, but there is
Yep.
actually a whole lot of profilers out there. Some of them are open source, free. Some of them have premium licenses. Some of them commercial products, and they all have different features and set of features. And it is really critical to choose a profiler that suits all your needs, developer needs, right?
Yes.
And I think that's half the deal. Maybe working with a perfect tool, perfect for you, right?
Yeah, there's tons of options. Just like choosing our IDE, like
Yeah.
there's options, and you should take the time to explore because you might be missing out. You might be getting things that you've been looking for. Yeah, if you just choose the right tool. So we're going to explore a little bit.
Yeah, so we are going to look at different profilers. Some of them have pretty unique functionality. I'm going to show you a couple of profilers which are just, well, they're commercial products, but they offer free trials. So we're going to push some buttons and see how they work. And if you're interested, and if you work for an enterprise, and if you're an enterprise developer, you might be interested in that. And if you're using some profilers already, you can put the link to the chat or just say which profiler you use, right?
Well, that's a good idea.
And yeah.
As you are here, if you're joining us live, drop us a note, say hi, let us know where you're from, because my mom and dad are always watching the show. They'd like to see where everybody's joining from. So today, hi, I'm joining from Portland, Oregon. But on top of that, if you have a profiler that you use, drop a note in the chat of which profiler that you like to use or you prefer to use. That'll make it a little bit more interesting. So, awesome.
Yeah. So we are going to start with GFR. So I'm going to share my screen in just a minute. And here's just a quick note on what we're going to look at. So we're going to start with GFAR, and I'm going to show it again how to use it with JDK mission control. We're going to look at Async profiler again, just briefly, right? For those of you who haven't watched the previous live stream. We are going to look at VisualVM. Yeah, I know it's a bit old, right? But still out there. It's still a robust profiler for some simple needs. So we're going to look at that too. And then I'm going to show you a couple of very interesting plugins for IntelliJ IDEA that you can use for profiling. And they're really cool. I checked them out just recently, and I'm in love with one of them. So I'm going to show you that. And then I'm going to show you one profiler with a freemium license, which is New Relic, right? So it's a commercial product, and the full set of features is well available at a subscription. But for individual developers or small teams, well, a limited set of features that it offers can be quite enough, and offers a great number of dashboards. Right, and then there are two commercial profiles, JProfiler and YourKit. So we're going to look at them.
We had a question in the chat. What's a profile?
Great question, actually. I should have started with that, actually. Right, so profiler is a tool that helps you to analyze the low-level processes of your JVM, such as memory allocation, garbage collection, CPU time, and so on. Right, so a profiler is part of, profiling is part of a greater observability pattern, right? So profilers, most profilers can't do what other tools can. So for instance, a profiler doesn't analyze latency, right? So it's it deals with the low-level processes. However, some modern profilers offer that feature as well, but it's just like in a pack, right? So traditionally, profilers deal with low-level stuff, right? And why would you even need to use a profiler, right? Well, if your application works well, great. if there are no issues, right? If your pods function perfectly, and if your cloud bills don't skyrocket, well, maybe everything's all right. Yeah.
Yep.
But something happens, right? So if there's a memory leak, if you waste too many CPU resources, if the cloud bills are too high, then there's something wrong, right? And that's the time to dig in and look what's actually your application is doing, right? So look at its behavior.
Yep. That the way I look at it, or the way I think about it in my head a little bit, is like I'm connecting to the JVM to understand what's going on inside. Like when I'm driving my car, I know that hey, I can go 65 miles an hour and it works and the blinkers work. But when I shift between third gear and fourth gear, there's a little hiccup. Why? And when I take it to the shop, the mechanic, they plug into the car's computer and they get insights onto all the different systems inside of the car. I know how to drive a car. I don't know anything that's going on under the hood. A profiler to me is like looking under the hood of the JVM. I want to find out like where small changes can be made, where small problems might be happening. And I want to be able to look under the hood. That's in my head. That's the metaphor. That's why I reach for a profiler.
That's actually a very good metaphor. Yeah, that's great. So profiler lets you look under the hood of JVM, right? And well, the key areas of profiling are execution profiling, right? So that's when we look at how much time each method is consuming, right? So some methods may be working too slow, and we can see that which methods are devouring most of the time, right? Execution time. Then there's memory profiling, right? So we see how the application uses memory, how the garbage collection functions, right? So maybe there are too many garbage collection pauses, right? Or the garbage collector doesn't actually manage with the load, right? And we can also identify memory leaks here in this case. Then there's thread profiling, right? So if you have multi-threaded code it's important to understand how your threads are behaving, right? So what's their life cycle? Yeah, and if there's any thread locking issues, for instance. And then there is input and output profiling, right? So for read-write operations. And some profilers offer additional features, such as, for instance, profiling database queries, which is super important, actually, right? Because on your local machine, when you're developing an application and you're just testing it, you're running some tests, it may be difficult to see which query may potentially take a lot of time to execute, right?
Yes. Kat, I'm going to be honest here. I don't reach for a profiler as like a first tool. And I'm having conversations even like currently where maybe it would have been a good idea to reach for a profiler instead of kind of guessing and doing other symptomatic, hey, let's look and see if we can figure out the problem. Maybe there's a few cases where I wish I would have grabbed a profiler sooner instead of waiting until I've exhausted all the other options. I'm thinking that maybe going down this path of profilers is maybe will help somebody realize that they can reach for a profiler. They can get some information about a problem that they're having, like thread locking, slow IO, or other faster. So this is good. Exactly. This is a timely session. I know that I need to grab a profiler sooner. I know I need to make it a better effort to use it more often. So thanks.
Yeah, but we should remember that there's a saying that premature optimization is the root of all evil. So
the root of all evil. Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember who said that, actually. Shame on me. Yeah, but it's as the saying goes. And so we can't fine-tune everything, right? We can't actually reach perfection. We can't write perfect code, right? And when we get into fine-tuning, that's over optimization already. You're wasting your time. But yeah, if there is an issue, if there's a problem, it would be good to identify it, right? And to solve it quickly. And that's what Profiler does. Yeah. So kind of a detective for your code.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I hope that answers the question on what is a profiler and why we need that tool. And we are going to head straight into profiling, actually.
That's great.
Yeah. So
while you're doing that, I'm going to remind everybody that Spring Boot 3.4.0 gets released tomorrow, November 21st. We're going to have a new version of Spring Boot 3.4. And we already have Spring Framework 6.2 has been released. And with that, a lot of cool new features. And the one that I think I'm smiling the most about is the way that we've changed the way that beans get initialized. We got some real cool features on, we have a fallback bean where you can, if a bean doesn't get initialized, you can give it a fallback and, hey, use this bean instead. The ordering, the way that we're ordering the initialization of beans has changed. But just, there's lots of cool stuff. Take a look at the release notes because 6.2 of Framework is underlying all the other projects. So it's a good time. It's a great time to be a Spring developer.
Yeah. As far as I know, you and Dan are going to have a release party tomorrow.
Release party tomorrow, yeah, with Phil Webb, co-creator of Spring Boot. It's going to be a good time. So you should check it out.
Yeah. Looking forward to it. All right. So let me share my screen. Just a sec. Windows Spring Boot link. All right. Can you see that? Yeah, I think you can. Okay, great. So this is our favorite pet clinic, right? And what we are going to do now is to look at JFR. So a couple of words about JFR. JFR, or Java Flight Recorder, is a profiler, OpenJDK profiler, actually built into OpenJDK. So when you download a Java distribution, it's already there. So that's why it's, I think it's the easiest one to use, because you don't actually have to tune anything or adjust anything or download anything, right? So just one command and your application is already running with a profiler. And thanks to the fact that JFR is baked into OpenJDK, it can profile hundreds of types of events. So if just let me share my screen with the browser. Okay, so here it is. All right, so all the events that the flight recorder can capture, and there are numerous events, right? So class loading, code cache, right? Diagnostics, lots of that, right? And subcategories. So that's a lot of stuff, right? And well, actually, that gives you a very good experience, right? So you can dig into your JVM processes, into your JVM behavior, dig deep, really dig deep, right?
Yep.
Okay, so let me just switch to the IDE again. All right, and as I already said, using JFR is really, really simple. So you just run your jar file, right? So I have already built it just to accelerate the whole process. So you're running your jar file with these options, right? So first of them is unlock diagnostic VM options, right? To be able to use JFR. And this one, pretty important, debug non-safe points. It means that the profiler can go beyond the safe points and gather more information, right? Because as again, we already discussed during our previous live stream, when the profiler debugs only at the safe points, so when the position of all threads is known, it can lead to safe point bias, right? So it can miss some important information, right? So some issues that happen outside the safe point. So that's how we solve this issue. And then, the actual command is start flight recording. So here you can specify some arguments. So for instance, the duration, like 30 seconds, for instance, in this case, and the file name, like that, and that's it. But the whole list of options you can find in the docs, OpenJDK docs. All right, so that's it. And as you can see, the profiling has started, right? Success. Our application has already also started. Right. So then this file, the JFR generates, is a binary log file. You can analyze it in Java Mission Control. So Java Mission Control is, it's pretty much like a console with the user interface and lots of pre-built reports that can help you analyze JFR files, right? So I think.
And that's something I can do offline. So I don't have to be connected to production. I can use the Java flight recorder. I can get a sample of what's happening in my application, and then I can analyze that sample outside of production. I can just bring that JFR file into a Java Mission Control, and I can analyze it there.
Exactly. And you can actually use JFR in production too. So it can run in the background because it has a very low overhead. So that's a benefit. Because some profilers have a huge overhead, and that can impact the performance of the application and the actual recordings, right? The results of the recordings.
So if I have a problem, and I'm not speaking to anybody in particular, but if I have a problem that's recurring and I want to have some insight, this problem happens in production, and the other tools, my logging, my other observability tools, they aren't capturing the information I need. It might be a good idea to turn on the Java flight recorder to get some under the hood analysis of what's going on that I can then analyze after an issue occurs. Might be a good idea.
Exactly, yeah. So you can let it run silently in the background, right? And so connect to your JVM as soon as something bad happens, right? And that's when you can get all the diagnostics information. All right, so we got our recording, right? So my recording JFR. and we can open it in Java Mission Control. So Java Mission Control is also open source and free, but it's not part of the OpenJDK distributions, and you have to download it separately. And for instance, you can download Liberica Mission Control, right? So which I have here. And this is, as you can see, a user interface, right? So right now it's empty, but let's open our file, which is here, right? And voila, right? And already you can see lots of reports, right, that you can go through. Of course, you have to be quite proficient in analyzing the profiling information, because for a novice, it can be a little bit, well, tricky, right? That's a whole bunch of information. But well, in due time, you can get used to it, right? So yeah, so here we can see the GC configuration, right? So we are using J1 GC, which is the default garbage collector in Java. Right, the summary. So, for example, the maximum GC time is 37 milliseconds. And the longest pause is 10 milliseconds, right? So something happened that took 10 milliseconds to for your application to actually freeze, right? Well, not freeze, but work a little bit slowly here. All right, so and you can see, right? Yet, so that's a lot of information again. Yeah. You can also use mission control for for real-time profiling. So let's just run our application. Right, and so we can connect to it in the JVM browser. So as far as I can see, it's here. This one. Yeah, so you can see real-time data on our application, the CPU usage, heap memory, and yeah, so you can monitor that as well.
That's nice. I have a question. How long can we run the recorder in production?
You can actually let it run for as long as you wish. Again, it's a very low overhead profiler, right?
That's
so
right.
it doesn't impact much the performance of your application. That's a huge benefit of JFR, actually. And yeah, coupled with all its capabilities, that's, well, a very, very powerful profiler and very useful profiler.
Mikhail is asking, is there a release of the Java Mission Control for Apple M3? He's struggling to find a release that works.
Well,
that's a good question.
Actually, we have a Liberica Mission Control for Apple for M series Macs. Well, I'm using M1 Mac and it's working pretty good, but you can try and download it. So there is a build for macOS ARM, right? I'm going to send you the link into the chat.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so try this one and let me know if it works correctly, right? In Twitter, on LinkedIn, or wherever, right? So, and if it doesn't, we'll see what we can do. But I'm sure it does.
Again, that's the cool thing about this is, Mikhail, go take that for a spin. See if you're at your computer, go take it for a spin and let us know if it's working, because we're here live. Like, we can get instant feedback. This is great.
Yeah. Yeah, by the way, yeah, so you can try it out just right now, right, while we are talking. And then, okay, this is exciting. All right, so that was Mission Control and JFR. Let's move on to the VisualVM. Why not?
Okay.
Right, so again, share my screen.
The last time that I had a production issue that I was in charge of and I was reaching for a profiler, I think it was VisualVM that I was actually using.
Well, yeah, actually, VisualVM was my first profiler. So when I was just studying Java, we were told to download VisualVM and we'll profile the application with it. And that's why I have unpleasant memories associated with that. Not because it was bad, but because it was difficult, and like I have this negative association.
I want to say good morning to Andy Tux. Thanks for being here. What we're doing today is we're looking at profilers, profiling the JVM. Profilers are tools that we can use to help us diagnose problems. I like to say it's looking under the hood of the JVM. That's the metaphor that's in my head that we're going to use. So thank you so much for being with us this morning. I know it's early for you too.
Yeah. All right. So this is VisualVM. We can connect to the local or remote JVM process, but as we have a local process running, we'll connect to that. This one, right? Yeah. So there's an overview of the process. Again, you can monitor it in real time. The CPU usage, the heap, threads, classes, right? Then there are more detailed reports on threads, for instance. And I remember, I distinctly remember this one because we were doing some multi-threading. We were studying multi-threading, and we had to monitor the threads. And I had a small application. I don't remember what it was doing. I think it was parsing some website using several threads. And in the IDE, I saw that it is working. The application is working. And the VisualVM actually showed that the threads are working hard, right? So without any pauses, everything's fine. And in an hour, when the application stopped, the result was just empty. I didn't know what they were doing. No idea. Really. They were doing something, but that remains a secret to me to that day.
Yeah. VisualVM, I think, is bringing back fond memories for some of the viewers. It's definitely a tool that I've reached for many, many times.
Sorry?
I was just saying this is a tool that a lot of people have used.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because it has been around since Java 6 or 5, as far as I know, right? So pretty, yeah. So it's been around for a long time. Well, as you can see, the user interface is pretty simple, but I didn't give you information, basic information that you need about your application, right? So there are CPU samples, memory usage, right? And you can also take a snapshot of that data and analyze it later, right? So, the disadvantage of VisualVM is that it offers a limited choice of features, right? Although it can monitor the JDBC queries, which is pretty cool. I didn't know about that. So if we, for instance, run our application, where is that? The pet clinic, run some queries, right? They should be here, or maybe, well, they should have been here. I know that they should be here. File running, JDBC settings. Okay, that's weird. That's really weird. Oops. Pushing the buttons here.
Yeah, push buttons.
Yeah, that's what we are here for, right?
There's an interface here.
Right, but well, so it does monitor the application, so it should be all right. It should be here. It was here. All right. Well.
Oh, are we using the right process ID?
I think
at the pet clinic process ID. We're looking at IntelliJ's.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe. Okay, so this one. Let's try this one. This is one. Okay. And what I have here. So. Okay. Right.
Yeah, that's the one we want.
Profiling. Okay, so I think I should stop the IntelliJ IDEA profiling.
Yep.
Before. Okay. starting this one. Okay, so maybe can just no. Well, as you can see, it's not exactly that simple.
Hey, yeah, click on the pet clinic application.
Yeah,
and then
and
click on
profile.
yeah.
Try this one. So I thought it's just doing that automatically. Actually, that's interesting. Really interesting, because it shouldn't be. Well, it should be switching.
Profiling of IntelliJ in progress.
Okay, let's just check it once again. Maybe what did I do? Sampling inactive. Okay. How do we stop that, actually?
Yeah, close that tab. Maybe close them both and reopen it.
Okay, let's try this one. Okay. Backlink application, open. Right, so. That's weird. Okay, let's do this one. And let's close it all together. Oh, yes, that's okay, actually, right? So we're doing it real time.
This is the thing. Sometimes it's sometimes it's a demo, sometimes it's a troubleshooting demo. This is how I learn a lot of things, is like, hey, I gotta figure it out, right? Especially when there's an expectation.
Yeah, so now we established that if there is a detach button, it's not very obvious where it is. All right, that's not good. Okay, so let's try it once again. Right, profiling inactive. Let's try doing that. Okay, so all right. Okay, you're working. Yes, you are. Okay, yeah. So as you can see now, it's profiling the queries and the total time, right? Showing the total time that it took to execute the query. Well, which is pretty good feature.
That is.
Right?
That's really, really nice, actually.
Yeah, so that's very important. Profiling the queries is super important. But I'm going to show you the instrument later on today that is doing it just in an absolutely unique and awesome way, right? So stay tuned.
Right.
Right. All right, so that was VisualVM. Again, as you can see, we're profiling this process. And do you see here the detach button? No, I don't. So that's kind of a disadvantage. It should be here maybe somewhere.
Yeah.
And add. Yeah, so just take a note of that, right? So the detach button is not nowhere to be seen. All right. Okay. Yeah, so that was VisualVM, and let's move now to Async Profiler. So Async Profiler, here you can see its repo on GitHub, and I'm going to give you the link too, right? So you can check it out. It's a very nice profiler in a way that's also very low overhead. It's really, really small, like a few kilobytes. And it doesn't have a user interface, which might be a disadvantage for some. But instead, you can embed it into other solutions, right? So for instance, the Async Profiler is used under the hood of IntelliJ IDEA Profiler.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's an advantage. Right. It's called Async Profiler. Because it can profile the application and the JVM outside the save points, which is a huge advantage. And there are builds for macOS and Linux, so there are no builds for Windows.
Michaela's taking a look at Liberica Mission Control, and he says it can't be open because Apple cannot check for malicious software. This is just that it's not a signed package. It's not fitting the Apple.
That's actually well, that's okay, because Apple is very paranoid about packages. So you can trust that, and you can get it out of the quarantine, right, in the system settings.
You can go into the system settings, security, and you can allow it to be opened. But that's, if you're not comfortable doing that, don't do it. But that's what I would do. I'm going to simply go to my system settings and then go down to the security and privacy, and it'll say, hey, this app wasn't open. Would you like to allow it to open anyways? And I'm going to click the button. So
no, that's
if
true.
If you're comfortable doing that, you'd like to take for a spin, that's how you're going to,
yeah. Sure. And you know that GraalVM is actually also not a notarized product. So if you download the tar GZ or zip package of GraalVM,
right?
you also have to take it out of the quarantine.
Packages that I install that don't check that box.
Yeah. So that's how Apple rolls. All right. So again, as I was saying, Async profiler is really, really small. It can do the CPU profiling, allocation profiling, Java meta profiling, so all the stuff that robust profiler should do, right? It doesn't profile SQL queries and doesn't profile web requests, so there are all the other tools for that. But if you are looking for a profiler for these tasks, then it might be convenient for you. Right, so how do we use an Async profiler? You can attach a Java agent to the running JVM process, or just like with JFR, you can attach it at the application start, right? Because sometimes it's very important to profile how long it takes for the application to start. Sometimes it's an issue, right? And there are some techniques that we already use, right, to reduce the Java startup time, like AppCDS, Crack, native image, right? They're all aimed at reducing the Java startup. So that's why it's important sometimes. Right. Okay. So where is my right? So you download the Async profiler, and then again you are running your jar, right, with a standard command. Java jar, and you're attaching the agent with the agent path and the full path to the Async profiler file, right? And then you can specify some arguments if you wish. So you can profile one event or several events. In this case, we are profiling one event, CPU, right? You can give the name of the file, and it's going to create a flame graph. So Async profiler can create flame graphs and JFR files. JFR files can be analyzed in Java Mission Control, as we already saw, right? And flame graphs, and I'm going to show you that right now. You can analyze them in your browser, right? So as you can see, profiling has started, right? So our application has already started. That's 4 seconds. All right, let's just push some buttons. Yeah, well, 4 seconds. Well, I'm so used to working with native image, with experimenting with Laden, that 4 seconds seems to me like too much.
I mean, yeah, we've been spoiled by all the new releases and all the
new... exactly. And by the way, you can use JFR with native image, right? So when you're building the native image, you can enable the JFR. Then you can profile the native image, because profiling native images is trickier, right? Because that's not Java code, right? But JFR is already there. That's a huge benefit also for this profiler, right? Yeah. Okay. Right. So it's going to create the file. Here it is, profile.html. And we can open it in our browser. Where is that? Okay, wait a sec. It's supposed to be here.
It was there.
Oh, here it is. Right. And that's the flame graph. So don't be scared. That's how it looks. Right, with the meta calls, right, that you can analyze. Right, and that's it was profiling the CPU, so that's only one event, right? So again, you have to be pretty proficient at analyzing the flame graphs or JFR files. But again, if you want to profile your application, that's what you just learn doing.
Yep.
Okay, so that was Async profiler. And now,
yeah, and like we said earlier, like there's most of the time, hopefully, you're not going to need to grab a profiler. Most of the time, things are going to work. The looking under the hood is when we're trying to squeeze out milliseconds, when we're trying to find out why the garbage collection is pausing, what's happening, what's causing the JVM. Because in some use cases, like in healthcare, where we're attached to a fetal heart rate monitor, right? In some use cases, those milliseconds matter. In some use cases, like in finance or rocket science, right? Those milliseconds matter. But most of the time, we don't need to grab this tool. We're looking at tools for those edge cases when things aren't going great, or when we do need to squeeze out some milliseconds, or reduce latency in some other way. This is why we're doing this. This is a great tool. It's not something that most of us aren't going to be using a profiler every day, because most of us are going to be creating great code and we're going to be getting to production and things are going to work. But sometimes things don't go according to plan. Sometimes we're going to be asked, like, hey, reduce the latency of this, like fix this, make it so it doesn't pause. We need that.
Yeah, exactly right. So yeah, using profiler, it's not an everyday thing, but we have to be able to use that, right? Because sometimes things go wrong, and a profiler is a great way to pinpoint the root causes of the issues fast, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was Async profiler, and we're going to stay in the IDE, and I'm going to show you a couple of great plugins that you can use. And the first one is IntelliJ IDEA profiler. As I already said, it uses Async profiler under the hood and JFR. So it is available as a plugin for IntelliJ IDEA Ultimate, and using it is super simple, like super simple. You're just running your application with the IntelliJ profiler enabled, right? So there are 3 dots here, and that's it. You profile the application. And it's going to work silently in the background, right? So it is convenient if you want to profile the application in the IDE without leaving the IDE, right? So you're developing some code and you want to, have a quick look at what you have already done and to see what the profiler tells about your code and thinks about your code, right? So that's kind of a grab-and-go solution, right? So again, we can push some buttons in our application to make it work a little bit so that profile can be busy doing something. Right. And, IntelliJ profiler can help you, profile CPU, memory locations, garbage collection, right? So we can stop the application, and the report should be available here, right? So we can see the flame graph. Well, we didn't do any load testing, right? So our application was just working silently. We pushed a couple of buttons, and there wasn't much going on. So the profiling here looks, kind of, minimalistic, so to say, right? But as you can see, it already showed us in the IDE itself that running the application, took 76% of the whole time of running the application, right? So it's more than 3 milliseconds. And that's pretty much corresponds to what we see in the console, right? So the application started in blah, blah, blah. So it's kind of like that also.
That's a neat feature. Where it's kind of showing us where the pauses are, where problems might be. That's really neat.
Yeah, and that was a flame graph, and there is a call tree. Again, you can see this this method and its execution time. So we can dig a little bit deeper into that, see the library calls. Then there is the method list and execution time of various methods, right? right, the timeline, CPU usage, right, of our application. As you can see, it used most CPU at the beginning, and then just stabilized, right, with some peaks when we did something. I expect like pushing some buttons, right, and some events that you can also find here, right. So that's it. So it's kind of a sync profiler with the user interface, if you want to think about it that way. Right. Okay. So and the next plugin that I wanted to show you, I really liked it. So I discovered it not so long ago. It's called Digma. Digma AI. Maybe you have already heard about that.
I've seen it. I've not taken it for a spin, so this is exciting.
Yeah. So Digma is in a way, it is a very outstanding profiler. So it also can profile CPU, the memory location, but it's not. Its primary focus is on your code. So you install Digma as a plugin, right? And you let it run together with your code. I'm going to show you how to do that in just a minute. And then it observes the code, the running code in the background. And after you stop the application, it gives you a report on the methods and on the SQL queries, and if there are any issues that it detected with your code, right? So maybe there are some slow spots, right? Or maybe there are some spots that can potentially lead to issues if there are more requests, right, coming into your application, and so on. So that's pretty amazing. And using it, again, is really simple, but you need Docker. So because it spins up 3 Docker containers for its purposes. Yeah. Right. But that's okay. Again, you can stop them when you're not using Digma.
Yeah. I assume, and I don't know if it's a good assumption, but I assume that maybe it's too often. I assume that most people have a Docker dial tone on their laptop when they're working. I know that's not the case everywhere, but most people do. And most people have this advantage of having Docker available for things like test containers. And now here's another use case where if I don't have a Docker dial tone, if I'm not giving myself that Docker dial tone on my laptop, here's something I'm missing out on. Beyond test containers, this is another tool. So yeah, this is I assume, and I'll ask the chat, like, do you have a Docker dial tone? Are you using Docker on your laptop? And if not, why? That's all.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm so used to using test containers that Docker is enabled by default always on my computer. Well, because of test containers, right? Yeah. But even if you're not using test containers, which you should be doing, because it's such an awesome feature, enabling Docker is sometimes necessary to run some other solutions, right? So, for instance, Digma. Okay, so when you install the plugin from IntelliJ IDEA Marketplace, just like any other plugin, then there are 2 icons. So here you can see this cute little bat. I think it's a bat. Right, Digma and observability. So Digma uses open telemetry under the hood. So we have to enable observability for Digma to work. That's
Anish in the chat is saying that he uses Digma all the time. He says it's a great plugin. Well, thank you for that. That's awesome.
Yeah, great. I'm happy to hear that. Yeah, it's already used, so it's really good. You should try that out. All right, so now we are running our application. As you can see, Digma has been attached, right?
How did you start up Digma?
So we enabled observability here, and we're just running the application.
Got it.
Right? So that's all. It will be attached automatically. But I have to warn you that Digma doesn't work with Java 23 for some reason. I don't know why. But I'm using it here with the latest LTS version. Maybe their politics is to support the LTS versions, right? So maybe.
Yeah, you get it.
Yeah.
I mean, and Java 23 is already like middle age. We're gonna have Java 24 here in February. So yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen the list of JAPs? I mean, it's amazing. It's 21 jobs, right? So wow, the list is just huge. The Java is getting better and better with every release, and it
Yes.
accelerates. I think its improvement.
And we can expect for a lot of our Java workloads, just by upgrading the JVM, we're going to get some better performance, better memory utilization, better startup time. So at a minimum, I think it's a great idea to stay on the latest JVM. And if you run into problems while you're upgrading your JVM, guess what? We've got tools to help you. That's why we're
Yeah.
looking at profilers.
Yeah, exactly. And another exciting news about JDK 24 is that there's going to be JAP that enables the project Ladon support,
Yep.
right? And also the JAP for project Lilliput.
Lilliput. Yep.
Pretty
that's
awesome. Pretty
Yep.
awesome thing. All right, so I've pushed some buttons, and Digma should have registered them. So let's just stop the application. Right, and you can see the reports here, right? So again, you can click on observability button or on the Digma button, and you can see what's happening, right, in the application, what Digma managed to find out, right? And it can well, put a small icon right near some methods to signify that it is slow, or maybe there's something wrong with it, right? So there is a slow endpoint that we have,
This is
right, for instance, or get owners, right? So we can analyze it more here. So when we clicked on the endpoint, open the window here, right? So it tells it that it's inefficient query, right? So it shows as query the duration, and that's not really good, right? So then there are other issues that are detected. So it's suspected N+1 problem, right, with this query, and slow endpoint, right? So we have here the analytics, the slowest requests, the traffic, right, duration breakdown. But again,
this is pretty cool.
Yeah, so as you can see, we have some slow queries, inefficient queries that we can, well, somehow optimize if we want to. Well, we should.
Yep.
Yes, right? So it gives a very, very good detailed report on the query and how long it ran and why it is inefficient, right? So that's pretty awesome. And I really love Digma for that. So I think we should use it together with some other profiler, like JFR, for instance, yeah, because Digma doesn't show much about the low-level JVM processes, but it gives unique insights into the code, right? Right. So that's great. I love that. Right. Right. Okay. So that was Digma. Let me just clean the working document. Okay, so just a second. Right, and now I'm going to show you a couple of well, not a couple, 3 other profilers. One of them is New Relic. As I already said, it has a freemium license, and 2 commercial products, right? So just let me clean things up a little bit, because it's starting to look really, really nasty. Okay, just a sec. Okay. Right. Okay. And disable observability. Okay. Let me share my screen again. Okay. Okay, share. Right. So the next profiler I want to show you is New Relic. New Relic is a very interesting solution because it's not only a profiler. It has a lot of features for enterprise workloads, right? So it doesn't only provide data about JVM processes. It can give you alerts if there are any issues, right, and send you notifications. It provides the application performance monitoring, right, for the application and microservices, right? So it's very good for distributed systems to see, to get the data about the connection between your services, right? And if there's any latency or any issues or any errors. It can, help you understand website performance, right? It has numerous dashboards that I'm going to show you right now, the errors, and even the security testing, right? So it can run the code for exploitable vulnerabilities. Usually we use vulnerability scanners for that, right? But New Relic also offers this feature included into the whole the pack.
This New Relic in my head fits into the bucket of other application performance monitoring tools. Some others that I think of are like Datadog.
Exactly.
Dynamics. Some other tools that fit into this, where this is we're getting now beyond just the JVM. We're getting a little bit more exposure at a different level, but it also includes some of that under the cover metrics because it can attach the agent to the JVM. So we're getting a lot of this information, but now we're collecting it at scale.
Yes.
Right? These tools, they provide these metrics. So not just for one JVM, but for dozens or thousands of JVMs, and they're connecting that information.
Exactly. Yeah. So it has a great integration with Kubernetes, with Docker, with the whole of your infrastructure, right? And it's not only about Java, right? So it can profile other languages, other solutions, right? So it's a really enterprise grade solution, right? So maybe you don't even need it if you're an individual developer. Working on a small application, right? But if you're working on a scale, if you're developing microservices, then New Relic might be a tool to go, because the profilers that we looked into previously, right? All the other profilers, they can't do distributed systems, right? They can't do microservices. So this one is different. And as I already said, it has a freemium license. So for individual developers, for small teams, and for data in just 100 gigabytes per month. Then that's going to be for free, but not all features are included into the freemium license, right? So if you want to get the complete experience, then there's this subscription, right? And this is the dashboard, right? And I would say that setting up New Relic is it's not that easy. It didn't seem easy to me because, as it is aimed at enterprise applications, it might be a little bit complicated, right? But in the simplest scenario, you get this jar file with the Java agent, New Relic, right? And then you attach it to your JVM process, just like we are used to doing, right? So previously. So, and that's what we are going to do right now. So just let me stop sharing for a quick second here. Right. Okay. Present share screen. Right. Okay. So we have our application here again. Okay, we can close Digma, I guess. Terminal. Okay. That's a Async profiler, and that's New Relic again, right? So we are running our jar file with the Java jar, right? And we are attaching the Java agent, and we are specifying the full path to the New Relic jar file, right? And that's pretty much it in the simplest scenario. Right.
I'm pretty sure that if we're using build packs, we have a New Relic build pack that we can just add a New Relic key. There we go. So I just verified that. We can just if we're using the build pack, instead of having to put the class path to the jar file, all we have to do is provide a New Relic key in our environment, and then it'll automatically attach that jar file to the JVM as a part of the build pack process. So we can make it easy if we're taking it to production.
Yeah, there is a build pack. I haven't used it yet, honestly, but I think I will, because that's important. If you use build packs, you want the whole experience, right? And yeah, attaching the Java agent, well, it's not exactly tricky, but you have to know how to do that. Right?
Yep. And I think once you've done it once, I think the same example that we used here, to attach something as a JVM agent, that process is easy. Once you've done it once, you can understand the hook.
Yeah. Right. So
click some buttons.
Yeah. So the profile has been attached to the application. Oh, okay. Let's
and now in this case, the information that we're collecting is going to New Relic's systems.
Yeah.
Right? So we're distributing this information to their server. So there's no file being ran locally or being created locally. This is all being created in their systems, their database, so that we can go and analyze it there.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So there are lots of, a bunch of dashboards, a bunch of features, right? Some of them are already available, some of them not.
Yep.
Right. There are already pre-built dashboards, for example, for Java. I haven't enabled it because, again, it requires configuration, but you can use that, right? Yeah. So it's already tailored for your Java application.
Yep, and that's the other thing with tools like this. It's not just for Java. We can get these type of deep insights into other languages as well with tools like New Relic, Datadog, App Dynamics, etc.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is great. Kat, my Uber is here. I am having to race to San Francisco. So I apologize, but today we're going to have to cut it a little short.
Okay.
So can we continue this discussion where we left off, because this is fantastic. I'm having such a great time doing this, but I did a very poor time of managing the logistics of this little trip that I'm on.
Yeah, that's totally okay. Totally okay. Yeah, and the topic is really lengthy. So yeah. So we have been here for an hour, but actually, I have already showed lots of features and profilers that you can use right here and right now, right? So that require the license, and try them out. Yeah. So if we have the next session on profiling, and if you join us the next session, you can just write in the chat which of the profilers you tried out and what's your experience with that, if you liked it or not. So yeah.
Yeah, and don't forget, we now have ARM64 support in the Alpaquita build packs, and Spring Boot 3.4 is going to be released tomorrow. Spring Framework 6.2 has been released. Spring Boot 3.4 is going to be released tomorrow. We have a new ARM64 for Alpaquita. Like, things are great. It's a great time to be a Spring developer. Kat, thank you so much for hanging out with me this morning, or morning for me. I know it's evening for you. This is wonderful, and I'm looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, so just sending the last link on the Docker Hub library runtime containers with Alpaquita. So if our audience wants to try it out, that was lovely.
I want to try it out.
Yeah. Right, and the build packs with Alpaquita are in the makings. So with ARM64. So.
Oh, fantastic! Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. This is great, Kat.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And
thank you,
everybody. We will see you soon.
Nice. Bye, everybody.